The shuttle was dying around him. Warning glyphs, sharp and angular in an alien script, bled across the cockpit canopy. Smoke, acrid and chemical, stung his eyes. Behind him, a soft, terrified whimper cut through the groan of buckling metal. He was just a mechanic. He had signed on with the xeno-archaeological team for steady pay and the chance to see the galaxy, not for combat. But when the scavenger ships had descended upon the research outpost on that desolate moon, protocol had evaporated. The lead scientist, her voice tight with a fear he now understood, had shoved a data crystal into his hand and pointed him towards a private hangar. Get her to the envoy at the stellar beacon. No matter what. Her was the source of the whimper. A slight, willowy figure swathed in a travel cloak, her skin the color of twilight, and hair like spun silver caught in the zero-G. She was a diplomatic attach, they'd said. He knew it was a lie the moment he saw the refined grace of her panic, the unnatural focus in her large, obsidian eyes. Another impact rocked the shuttle. A console exploded to his left. "Brace!" he yelled, wrestling with the dead controls. The little ship, sleek and fast, but hopelessly outgunned, tumbled towards the ringed gas giant below, its gravity well a hungry mouth. The crash was a cacophony of shearing metal and shattering composites. Consciousness fled, then returned in painful pulses. He was hanging upside down in his harness, blood dripping into his hair. He smelled fuel and ozone. Move. With a grunt, he released himself, falling in a heap to what was now the ceiling. He ignored the throbbing in his arm and crawled back through the twisted passage. The passenger compartment was a shambles, but the crash couch had done its job. The alien woman was struggling with her harness, her movements clumsy with shock. "Easy," he said, his voice rough. He reached out, carefully undoing the complex clasp. Her skin was cool to the touch. She flinched, then stilled, watching him. "The beacon," she whispered, her voice like wind chimes. "It's about 100 clicks north, according to the last nav fix. The shuttle's a wreck." "We walk," he offered a hand. She stared at it for a moment before taking it, her slender fingers gripping his with surprising strength. He was a practical man. He salvaged what he could. A survival pack, a water reclaimer, a med kit, and the only weapon he could find, a compact pulse pistol with half a charge. The moon's atmosphere was thin but breathable, its landscape a jagged tapestry of violet rock and deep, shadowy chasms. They began to walk. He learned her name was one of soft syllables, but he simply called her Princess in his head. It fit. She moved with an innate poise, even now, but she was not prepared for this. The first time a native lithoworm, all grinding crystalline teeth, burrowed up from the dust, she froze. He shoved her aside and fired the pistol, the burst of energy cracking the creature's mineral shell. It retreated, and he pulled her to her feet, her heart hammering against his chest. "You are not a mechanic," she stated later, as they huddled in a cave for shelter from the biting wind. "I am today," he replied. Checking the pistol's charge got the days blurred. He shared his rations, always giving her the larger portion. He showed her how to wrap her feet to prevent blisters. He stood watch while she slept, her silver hair fanned out on his rolled-up jacket. He spoke little of his life on a dusty agri-world, of engines and simple things. She listened, her large eyes never leaving his face. One night, under the swirling auroras of the gas giant, she told him of her world, of spires that touched the clouds, of music that shaped light, of a mother who ruled with wisdom and fierce love. "She will be worried," the princess said, and for the first time, he heard the weight of a dynasty in her voice. The scavengers found them on the third day. They came on skiffs, armed with crude energy casters and greed. He pushed the princess into a narrow fissure in the rocks. "Stay, do not look." He was no soldier, but he was a man protecting something. He used the terrain, the poor light, the overconfidence of thugs who thought they were hunting helpless scholars. He ambushed the first from above, dropping a heavy rock. He used the last of the pistol's charge on the second. The third was upon him, a hulking brute with a vibroblade. They grappled in the dust, the alien's strength superior. As the blade inched towards his throat, he saw a flash of silver. The princess stood there, a sharp rock in her hand. Her strike was desperate, not skilled, but it distracted the brute for a crucial second. He headbutted the alien, seized the vibroblade, and ended the fight. He was panting, bruised, and cut. She rushed to him, her hands hovering over his wounds. "You are hurt." "I'm fine," he coughed. "That was reckless, but thank you." She helped him stand. Her touch was no longer hesitant. It was firm. Certain they reached the stellar beacon on the 5th day. It was a lone tower of metal on a high plateau, gleaming under the system's star. As they staggered into its shadow, a ship descended. Not a scavenger vessel. This was a thing of grace and power, its hull like polished pearl, its lines suggesting both art and implacable force. It was a warship of the stellar sovereignty. A ramp extended. Guards in ornate armor descended, forming a line. Their weapons were held at ready, but not aimed. At the top of the ramp, a figure appeared. She was tall, regal, her twilight skin like the princess's, but adorned with subtle, living patterns that shifted like constellations. Her silver hair was woven into an intricate crown. Her eyes, the same obsidian depth as her daughter's, swept over the scene. They took in the bedraggled human, his clothes torn and stained, his arm in a makeshift sling, standing protectively half a step in front of the princess. They saw the way her daughter's hand rested on the human's good arm, not for support, but in solidarity. The princess stepped forward and bowed her head. "Mother." The empress descended. She moved past the guards, past her daughter, and stopped before the human. He felt those ancient eyes assessing him, weighing the dirt, the blood, the weary set of his jaw. He stood as straight as he could. "You brought her home," the empress said. Her voice was not loud, but it resonated in the bone, a sound of velvet and steel. "I did what I was paid to do," he replied, his voice hoarse. A slight, unreadable smile touched the empress's lips. She looked past him, to her daughter. "And you, my light? How did you find your protector?" The princess met her mother's gaze. "He is steadfast. He is kind. He fought for me. He would have died for me." Her statement was simple, absolute. The empress nodded slowly. She turned her gaze back to him. "A debt is owed. A life for a life. The scales of the cosmos demand balance. You will come with us." It was not a request. It was a decree. He was taken aboard the pearlescent ship. His wounds were treated by silent, efficient medics with technology that knitted his flesh without a scar. He was given quarters that were a palace in themselves, with a view of the stars streaking by. He was offered garments of fluid silk and soft metal. He was, for all purposes, a guest, but he felt the truth. The door, though lacking a visible lock, did not open to his touch. The guards outside were always courteous, always immovable. He was a treasure in a gilded cage. The princess visited often. She explained the ways of her people, the concept of Kethfar, the life debt. "My mother does not offer you a reward," she said, her eyes earnest. "She offers you a place. Your actions have shown a quality we value above all. Unbreakable loyalty. A heart that guards." "I want to go home," he said, the frustration simmering beneath his calm. "This can be your home," she replied. But she would not meet his eyes. Weeks turned into months as the ship traveled the space lanes. He learned. He adapted. The Empress summoned him to her private observatory, a dome where the galaxy swirled in holographic perfection. She questioned him not about the crash, but about his thoughts. On justice, on duty, on sacrifice. Your people are young, loud, fractured, she mused one evening. Yet they produce singular souls like you. A flawed block of marble can hide a perfect sculpture within. I am not a sculpture, he stated. You are, she countered, her starry eyes holding his. You just do not know your final form. My daughter's light still shines because you are her shield. That is not a service. It is a definition. It has redefined you. He understood then. This was not gratitude. It was acquisition. He was a rare artifact, a unique exhibit of a virtues she cherished. He had saved her most precious treasure, and so, by the logic of her eternal reign, he had become a treasure himself. To return him to the chaotic, dangerous galaxy of humanity would be to her an act of profound waste. The princess found him in his quarters the night before the ship was to enter the core worlds of the sovereignty. She was distressed. She will formally announce your inclusion into the imperial house at the court of 1,000 suns. There will be a ceremony. It will be permanent inclusion? He asked, or entombment? She looked away. I asked for your freedom. I begged her. She said you are free, freer than you have ever been, from want, from fear, from mortality. Our biosculptors can grant you centuries. She offers you eternity at my side as a guardian, an advisor, a friend. He saw the conflict in her. Her gratitude was real. Her affection was real. But she was also her mother's daughter, and she understood the weight of the cage being built around him. It was wrought from honor and gilded with paradise, but it was a cage all the same. He placed a hand on the cool, transparent wall, staring at the unfamiliar constellations.